Hajdi Cenan. I'm the co-founder and CEO of the AI startup airt, and I also serve as the president of the Croatian Startup Association. I don't think I decided it, at least not consciously. It found me, not vice versa. So tech world, and especially world of AI, is my third industry in my career, so I sometimes call it my third life. So when I first started working, I worked in a media industry, in print publishing though. Then I moved to a digital agency, which was also kind of full service. So that was the first connection and contact with technology, because there was an in-house development team. And basically it is my co-founder, current, and the owner of that previous company that I worked for, who got involved into the world of AI, because he is the computer engineer and he's the tech whiz that understands and can learn about technology. So I just went on a ride along with him, and here I am. So with airt, I have to admit, we did pivot a little bit. We were trying to find the actual thing, because when we first started, we worked with financial institutions and created and innovated architectures of deep neural networks that were specific for the transactional type of data, and we had great results that could help banks really understand their customers better. So we even got a patent for it. Like, things started very well, and then the pandemics hit. So after that, we simply had to figure out what else to do, because a lot of companies, particularly banks, didn't really offer a lot of loans to their customers because they couldn't. So we had to find something else, and then we stumbled onto a little bit kind of a development tool that we built, because we had to serve our models to streaming architectures that were used by big clients. And that tool that we didn't really plan to market, we released it as an open source, and it took a life of its own last year and got selected into the top 100 open source projects in the world. So that was interesting. And we got invited to a conference in China where we met with people from Microsoft Research. And now, why is that important? It's because we already started looking into AI agents, or better said, multi-agent AI systems. And Microsoft Research developed a framework that was exactly for building something like that. And we started collaborating with them. So basically the problem, so to say, that we're solving is the promise that AI was kind of giving for a long time now, but it hasn't really materialized, and that is the actual automation. Because when you can delegate tasks to a number of specialized AI agents, so each one kind of having its own particular role, such as people in a team, and then you put them together to collaborate, they can solve much more complex tasks that was possible than it was possible before, and they do it very quickly and for much lower cost than humans do. So there are a lot of processes that can really be automated and that can be sped up, that can help people improve their efficiency, because they won't have to spend a lot of time on those tasks, and they'll be able to do maybe something more creative. Well, right now we are really looking at the US as the market, because we are also an open source company, and US is still kind of a primary market for that. And for a lot of things, it is, for the lack of better word, unified market, because unfortunately, unlike Europe that does have EU and everything, it's still not a really united market. And when you want to expand in Europe, you have to go country by country still very much. So our expansion plans are focused on the US, and we've already opened a company there. We're looking for investors there as well, because it is still very much a different ball game compared to Europe. Everything is on a much larger scale, including the valuations and the investments that are given. It's sometimes difficult to really assess the state of Croatian startup scene, because we haven't yet finished the landscape. So to be honest, we still don't know exactly how many startups we have, where they are, what they do, what technologies they're using, which stage are they, and what are their current issues and challenges. And that is something that the Croatian Startup Association is trying to do. So we did initiate the questionnaire. Now we have to make the push to get as many startups to really fill out the survey as possible, so we can get first actual and concrete numbers of where we stand. Because right now what we hear and see, it's mostly our personal experiences. And when we manage to get in touch with various people, or they get in touch with us, we do see that there's always some new startups that are appearing with some cool new ideas. We already have seen a lot of startups that have gone through the initial stages, that have grown. I mean, we are boasting that we have 2 unicorns. We have a number of so-called soonicorns as well that we can see that would become unicorns very quickly. We have a lot of startups already in very growth stages that have gone through to many other markets. So we see that it is possible to create a globally relevant product and solution out of Croatia. We do see that we have an immense talent here. But we also do see that we are still lacking some of the ingredients of the ecosystem, so to say, such as real access to finance, for example, such as still a very difficult area in administration and bureaucracy that is not really allowing startups to have some perks that you get in some other countries. So, then again, Croatia is such a small market that maybe it's not really meant to have startups here. It is a good sized country where you can really test and validate your idea, your solution, maybe get some chances to do that you wouldn't be able to get in bigger markets. And then we should position Croatia as kind of a jump board where you could really then kick off and conquer the world, because we've seen companies do that. So our size can be an advantage as well, because especially a tech community and startup community, it's rather small, but it's very tight. So people do know each other. And when you need some, contact, advice, knowledge, whatever, it's very easy to get to someone who has that. And everyone is really willing to share it with you. So that's the beauty of this community. And it's also it can be easier to get some initial chances, to do some POC with the larger company, because again, small country, people do know each other. So there's kind of an implied trust even before you actually do the business. But that being said, the challenge is then what next? If you really want to grow, if you want to become a globally relevant startup, you have to have access to financing, you have to have access to ease of doing business, which is something that doesn't really happen in Croatia. So usually the solution for that is for companies to move their headquarters to some other jurisdiction. And historically, the 2 markets that Croatian startups went to were UK or London and the US. Because those are countries that are more startup friendly, to put it that way, and make it easier for startups to really, grow and expand their business. We predominantly put focus on women in tech through role models and examples, trying to find representatives who are really willing to, show up, who are willing to give an interview, who are willing to participate in conferences and panels, to give them the voice and show that it is possible to become a woman in tech, that it's possible to even become one of the leading women in tech, even if you don't have necessarily technical background, so that it can be done. And again, for a long time, we really haven't had that many women in tech, so maybe that's also part of the reasons why young girls will never, decide to go down that path. But the more we have, the more positive examples we have, I think we can change that, and it is changing slowly. Yeah, we really do it. We try to do it through this association, through really positive examples. And not negative connotations that unfortunately feminism has nowadays, but to really show that working together is going to make everyone's lives better. We don't have any governmental support, not really, at all. But yeah, that's always a little bit sensitive because you have to play nice with them. But we don't really have a counterpart. At least we haven't identified one until now who we can really talk to about all these issues that are related to startups. We'll see now with the new government that was elected and formed if that will change. So one of the ministries is also now getting kind of in charge of digital transformation, which we didn't have before. Like nobody was in charge of anything like that. So we'll see if there will be finally someone who we can talk to, because I don't think that government should actively involve in what startups are doing, but they need to provide a framework in which startups can operate freely. And that's that ease of doing business that we're really lacking. So for example, we got the ESOP, so Employee Stock Ownership Plan, possible for companies, so for private companies, at the same tax rate as it is for publicly traded companies. So that law was passed on January 1st this year. So on first glance, it was great success. We got something that is finally possible for startups as well. But then you have that administrative and legal part of actually issuing shares of your company to your employees. And unlike in jurisdictions such as the US or the UK, where the nominal value of the share can be 0.00 whatever, so you can have many shares that you can kind of play with, in Croatia, nominal value of one share is 10 euros. So you cannot have many shares, or if you want to have many shares that you can really be flexible with, then you have to increase the capital of your company, and that again costs money. So there's things like that that could be very much improved, and that is something that nobody else can do. It's the government's job.